Hello. Hi. Hola. Guten Morgen. I'm out of ways to say hello now. Hey, it is Wednesday, December 2nd. And this is In Case You Missed Psychology. So if you're watching this, that means one of two things today, actually. The first thing is that maybe you're missing from class today, in which case I hope that you're doing well, and I hope those around you are doing well. And the second reason why you might be watching this is since we went through the dream project today, you may not have been paying attention, or you may have a question about what it is that you're supposed to do, and you don't want to ask me in person, in which case, here you go. So, we didn't go through any new information today for like a test or anything, but instead what we're going to do is we're going to go over the dream project that we're going to kind of be working on in the background for the next month and 2 weeks-ish. Okay, I'm trying to give you guys a lot of time to get this done this time because I know that we're working in strange times. So I want to make sure that you have ample time to do what it is that you need to do. It's not that it's a ton of work. It's just that I want to make sure that you have enough time to do it well and be able to do all the other things that you need to do, not just for me, but for everybody. I know you guys are getting loaded up with work right now. I think it's just the time of year. I really, really do. So anyway, I made a post today at apparently 7:23 a.m. called Dream Project. It says here's a handout that we'll go over in class on the Dream Project. It runs through the basics of one of the things that we'll be doing for the rest of the semester. We'll go over in class today. And then there's the handout. You don't have to do anything on the handout. You're just going to use that as a reference. You're not going to turn that in. Eventually, what you're going to do is you're going to either turn in a folder to me, or you're going to turn in one big doc. Okay. If you click on that, you're going to get a document that looks like this, and it goes through the ins and outs of the Dream Project, which I will go through with you right now. Okay. All right. So the Dream Project is going to grade the communication and analysis standards, and actually they're going to be the last grades that we have for those. So they're going to be kind of important when looking at the final trend when figuring out your communication and analysis standards, also known as wink, wink. If you don't do this, that would be bad. Okay, so what we're going to do in the Dream Project is we're going to ask you to compare some things that you're going to write during class and a few outside of class to hopefully the dreams that you have that you recall having. Now, if you're thinking I don't dream, first of all, you do. Everybody dreams. Depending on how long you sleep, you're getting between 3 and 5 a night probably, but maybe you don't remember them. Now, if that's the case, just hang tight. I'm going to tell you how you can still do this. It'll be okay. Obviously, one of the things that I've learned over the years is when I first started doing this project back in 1997, 1998, that school year, I think we had about 90% of people remember enough dreams to, be able to do this the traditional way. Last year, we were down to almost 50%. And I think that there are some reasons for that we'll talk about a little bit later. And I think that obviously one of them is screens and screen time and things like that. That's part of the reason I wear these fancy glasses. It's not because I just look cool in them, even though I do. All right. So what you're going to do is you're going to work on this. You're going to have a final paper where I'm going to ask you to compare some of the things that you wrote while you were awake to some of the things that you dreamt about, and ask you to do some, there's some questions on the last sheet of this where I'm going to ask you to do some, what was the same, what was different, what stood out, what was the opposite, what was unique to you, what does it seem to mean? So you're going to be asked to compile this project in kind of a neat and orderly way. Now we'll talk about the options for how to do that later on, but it's going to be due on January 13th, 2021. It's the first time I've had to write 2021, January 13th. So it's going to allow you over a month, a month and 11 days to get this thing done and to prepare your findings. One of the easy things to do is to slack on all the parts that we're not doing in class. So please try to remember that you don't want to have to do it all at once. So there's going to be 3 parts to the final project. I'm going to go through each one at a time. So the first thing I want to talk to you guys about is what is called the day journals. Now, the day journals are things that we are going to do. There's going to be a grand total of 15 entries that we're going to do in the day journals. We're going to do 10 of them in class, where we're actually going to use class time, and We're going to give up 8 minutes of class starting tomorrow, actually, to work on these journals. And then you're going to have to do 5 outside of class. But let me go into how they're going to work. So first thing is that you're going to want to probably start a document in Google Docs that you're going to call Dream Project or day journals or something along those lines. And what we're going to do is every day for about the next 8 to 10 days. The reason I say 8 is sometimes when I feel like people are struggling a little bit, we only do 8. I'm going to ask you to load your class journal, your in-class journal, your day journals. And then I'm going to give you a topic, and I'm going to allow you it's going to be 8 minutes to write on that topic. So, for instance, usually the first topic that we do, I draw them randomly, but usually the one we start with because it's easy is describe an ideal place you'd like to be right now. What would you like to be doing and who would you like to be with? Okay. And so then I go, okay, anybody have any questions? You say no. And I say, okay, we're going to write for 8 minutes, ready, go. About halfway through, I'm going to go, you're halfway through your time. With a minute left, I'm going to say it's a 1 minute warning. And then when we hit time, I'm going to say this. I'm going to say, okay, that's time. If you have to finish something up, go ahead and do that. If you want to write personal on top of it, that's fine. Now, this is an important point that I'm going to make. When you're writing these, I need you to be 100% honest. I need you to be, if the place you'd like to be right now is on a beach in the Bahamas, watching the surf come in, reading a book, blah, 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 that's great. Write that. But if the place you want to be right now is some party doing something that maybe isn't school appropriate, you got to write that too. And so what I have you do is if you've written something that is either something that's personal, let's put it personal. At the top of the page, I want you to type the word personal. Do it in a bigger font, do it in red, do it so it stands out. And I promise I will not read that. I have nothing to gain from reading it. I've never read one in the 23 years we've been doing this project. I don't intend on reading one this year. So if you write personal on top of it, I'm not going to read it. I have nobody to share it with. I have nothing I'm going to do with the information. Now, a couple things about that. First of all, if you write personal on it, I'm not reading it. But that doesn't mean that if you leave your computer open in your home, in your bedroom, and your mom or your dad or your grandma or grandpa walk in, that they aren't going to read it. So make sure that you're smart about, what you're doing with your stuff. Second thing is sometimes people get a little comfortable. They're like, oh, it's Steve. He's not gonna mind. And so they tell me things that they probably shouldn't, and they don't write personal on it. And that's fine. I'm not telling anybody your business. Okay, really, I'm not. I'm not gonna walk in a Braun's room and be like, hey, Braun, guess what? Nah. But the thing I want to tell you guys and remind you guys of is because I'm a teacher, I'm something called a mandatory reporter. And so if you are doing something or someone is doing something to you that is potentially dangerous, harmful, inappropriate, I am required by law to report that. And so the time that someone talked at length about how one of their friends had a massive drug problem and they were really concerned about them, I had to report it. They didn't write personal on it. It wasn't even about them. It was about someone else. It was a bit of a dodgy situation, but it was, I think in the end it was for the best. Okay, so we're going to do 8 to 10 of those in class. I give you the topic, you write for 8 minutes. At the end, you decide whether or not you're going to write personal on it. And then the next day we'll go on. Now, one of the things I'm going to tell you that's a little later in this part is that you're going to want to put the date on every one of those. So at the top of the page, generally what I tell people is I'll give you a shortened version of the title and I'll give you the date. And I'll model this for you on the first day when we do it, okay? Now, the second little hyphen there says for every 2 entries that we write in class, so every 2 days or so, you're going to be responsible for writing one on your own. You're going to have a total of 5 of these. You can write them whenever you want to. You don't have to write them right after we write the second one, but you're going to do these on your own outside of class. They can be about anything you want. How basketball is going, why you do or don't like online school, how you feel about the pandemic, Christmas, New Year's Day, how the Packers are playing, why you like the color red, how much you dislike me. Write personal on that one, please. It hurt my feelings. Again, you can write personal on any of these. And please don't hesitate to do that. But again, you're going to write the date on there. You don't have to put a title, but you're gonna kind of write about whatever you want. Now, one of the favors I'm going to ask you guys on this one is it would be easy to save these till the last day and then just write 5 of them, whip them out, whatever. I'm going to ask you to try to space them out over the next month and a half. And the reason for that is what we're hoping will happen is we're hoping writing these journals is going to impact your dreams. And if you write them all on the last day, you're not going to get the value out of this project. You see, my friends, I'm going to tell you something right now. Everybody should get a 4 on this. If you do this, there's really not a whole lot of ways I can be real critical of it. This is more of a learning process where you learn about yourself. You kind of sit back and do some analysis on yourself. You kind of sit back and go, I wonder why I'm dreaming about that person, or I wonder why this one thing keeps coming up in my journals. And it gives you some time to think, little free association, if you will, from something we did in homework. And so I'm going to ask you to space those 5 out over the next month and a half. I'll remind you about them, but yeah, just do your best there. Remember, you can write personal on top of anything. Remember to put the date on it. Those are called out-of-class journals, the last 5. So you're going to have 10 in-class journals, 5 outside-of-class journals. That's going to be part 1. Now, on to part 2. Part 2 is the dream journal. Now, not everybody's going to be able to do this part because not all of you guys are going to remember dreams. But whether you remember 1 or you remember 75, I want you to write them down. Okay. Now, the unfortunate thing about this year is usually people keep little notebooks by their bed. I've had people turn in napkins. This year, you're going to have to type everything into your computer. So even if you put a little notebook by your bed to write down your dreams, you're going to have to transcribe that into a doc at some point. You can call that dream journal if you want to. And, if you're going to work out of a folder, if you're going to create a folder, you might want to have like an in-class journal, out-of-class journal, dream journal, final paper. Is your little things that you're going to call them. Now, with the dream journal, you're going to keep that for about the next month or so. You're not going to keep that right up until the end. You need to give yourself some time to do the final thing. So I would say like January 7th, January 8th, maybe stop keeping track of your dreams. There you go. So I'm going to go through like what you should probably write down before I go through the hints and helpers. So basically you should write down anything you remember. If you remember dialogue, write that down. If you remember who was in it, if you remember that I was in it, but I was calling myself Steve and I spoke with a Russian accent, make note of that. If it was your house, but you didn't live there, write it down. Okay. So any dialogue or any words, the number of people and who those people were. Okay. Any unusual things. I had a student one time dream. They would be having normal dreams and a giant ball of yarn would roll through. Okay. Somebody dreamt that their family adopted a carrot that was the size of a person and could walk and talk, and that their family liked the carrot more than them. Okay. The mood and the point of view. Was it scary? Was it not scary? Was it funny? And by point of view, I mean, were you in the dream? Were you watching the dream from above? Was it like you're watching a TV show, how'd it go? And then obviously the settings. Okay. So you're basically just writing down anything about the dream you can remember. Okay. Now, again, you can write personal on top of that. I don't need you to tell me about any of those kind of dreams. That would be yuck. No, thank you. Now some hints and helps. First of all, obviously, now that this is an assignment, don't put any extra pressure on yourself to remember dreams. That's one of the big things. Just set yourself kind of a goal. Hey, I'm going to try to remember my dreams, but don't put any pressure on yourself. Be patient. It may take a few days. All right. It may take 3 to 4 nights for your brain to kick in that, hey, I'm kind of trying to remember these. Okay. The biggest hint I can give, and then I'm gonna throw in some extra hints for you. Keeping something to write with by your bed is really important, even if that's a notepad in your phone. Okay, and here's why. If you wake up at 2:00 in the morning and go, oh my God, that was crazy. That was nuts. And you're like, I'm just going to go back to bed. I'll write it down in the morning. And then when you wake up in the morning, you're like, I had that dream, but I don't really remember anything from it. Oh, well. And so keeping a journal or keeping your phone or keeping a notebook by your bed can be really helpful. I had a student one time walk in and go, see, we need to look at something. And I'm like, okay, fine. What's up? And they're like, they grabbed 2 pins off my board and they opened up this napkin and it had been written on a red marker. And it was just crazy. It looked like some kind of like cave drawing with words scrawled all over. And we probably spent half an hour of class trying to figure out what was going on with that dream. And it was kind of interesting. It was probably one of the more fun classes I had that year. Now, some other helpful hints. Try to avoid caffeine after dinner time. That's not going to help. Energy drinks not going to help. So try to do that. If you are a user of illegal substances, you know what I'm talking about. If you could scale back on that would be really helpful. Try to disconnect from your phone and your TV and your computer screen about half an hour before going to bed. Let the brainwaves settle down a little bit. That helps. Sometimes hitting snooze or whatever button your phone has on your alarm and just laying there. I know that's really hard not to fall back asleep, and just laying there sometimes can help. And I just think that the big thing is not to put any extra pressure on yourself. Okay. You're either going to remember or you're not. There's a way you can be successful in this project, even if you don't remember any dreams. Okay. The last part. And the last part has a traditional version and then a I didn't remember any dreams version. So the final deal, if you remember enough dreams, now you have to decide what enough is. Then what you're going to do is you're going to type me up a 3 to 4 page paper. It's going to be double spaced. Don't freak. 3 to 4 pages isn't that long. Double space, where you're going to go back through your journals, your in class, your out of class, and your dream journals, and you are going to use the information to write yourself a little paper. Now, the paper should have an introduction paragraph. The introduction paragraph is basically going to talk about what you did. For the last month and a half, I keep track of my dreams from writing these journals. I found it really interesting. Blah 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 blah. Okay, there's going to be a conclusion paragraph. The conclusion paragraph is going to be you wrapping things up. What did you learn? And then here are some questions that you can consider. And you can write a paragraph about each one of these questions. You don't have to do them all. You can do the ones that apply. You can avoid the ones that don't apply. Okay, so summarize the process since the start of the project. That's really going to be your intro paragraph. Okay, then you're going to write about were there ever any common threads or common ideas running through the journals. So did you write for your ideal place you'd like to be right now that you want to be in the Bahamas and you dreamt about the Bahamas? Okay, if we do the superhero one, did you write that more than anything in the world you would like to be able to fly, and then you had a dream where you were flying? Okay. Now the thing is, obviously that's one sentence. And so what I want you to do with that and with all of these is you can write down what that similarity is and then write about why that was important to you, or why did that stick out, or what was it about the dream versus your journal that made this pop out in your head as something that was kind of unique. Okay. Then I want you to contrast the journal. Were there ever any significant differences? Like in real life, let's see, Steve is your best friend, and in your dreams you hate Steve and you kill him all the time. Why do you think that is? Again, what seem to be the functions of your dreams? Okay, like, are they just like random crap? Are they problem solving? Are you dreaming about your regular day? Are you dreaming about things at work? Are you dreaming about solutions? Okay, are your dreams bizarre or mundane? Are they interesting or are they boring? And what do you think that tells you about yourself? Did you have any dream that was disturbing? If so, what was it? Why was it disturbing, and what did it mean to you? And that can be different for different people. What common symbols or objects did you record? Were there things that you wrote about in your journals and saw in your dreams, or things that you kept seeing in your dreams over and over again? And then what do you think that thing means? If you constantly have water in every one of your things, why do you think you're dreaming about water all the time? What do you think that means? Like maybe you're a water skier. Maybe water is important to you. Okay. Were you ever able to control any of your dreams? They call it lucid dreaming. Some people can be like, oh, this is too freaky. I want to be downhill skiing. And they're skiing. Okay. How are your dreams relevant to your waking life? Is there something that you can learn or take away from them? Was the content of your two journals ever exactly the same? You wrote about this in your day journal and you had that dream later at night. And then finally, last but not least, what did you learn about yourself? And I've had some interesting things there over the years. I'm not going to go too deep into that right now. We probably talked about them in class, but we'll go with it. And obviously you can add to the list. It needs to be neat. It needs to be turned in on time. And you just need to go do a good job. Now, I didn't have any dreams, or I didn't remember enough dreams. I just can't. I only had 2, and they're short, and I don't have enough. So here's what you're going to have to do. Pick out any sleep or dream topic. Sleepwalking, sleep talking, sleep apnea, bedwetting, how the type of mattress affects sleep, how being on your phone affects brain waves in sleep, what's the optimum amount of time to sleep for a teenager to get, and why? And you're going to write about a 4 to 5 page paper. Now, why is it longer than the other paper? Because you didn't really probably do a dream journal. Okay. And basically, it's just going to be a research paper about any sleep or dream topic that you're interested in. I've had kids do experiments. I've had kids take their Apple Watches that track your sleep and your dreams, and they hypothesize about, I exercised on XYZ days, and so I slept better, and here's why. I've had people do papers on different like sleep aids, like what is it? All the things people can take to help sleep. But I get a lot of sleep disorders. I get a lot of sleepwalking, and that's fine. But something you're interested in that has to do with sleeping or dreaming, you're going to write 4 to 5 pages of paper, and you're going to have a works cited page for that. And so basically what you're going to do is you're going to hand in either 10-day journals, 5 outside of class journals, your dream journal, and this comparative paper, or you're going to hand in 10-day journals, 5 out-of-class journals, and a research paper. Okay. If you got any questions, please let me know. You're going to have questions. I'm going to ask probably every day if people have any questions. Happy dreaming, my friends. I hope this goes well. I hope you guys have fun with this. We always have in the past. It's just a little different circumstances this time. Have a nice day.